This is how to spool your spinning and your bait casting reels. Now this is not that hard to do. There's just a few things that you want to make sure you get right when spooling these that are going to save you a lot of headaches later, because if you do them wrong, they can end up getting your line all tangled, it'll come off the spool wrong. So there's just a couple things that you need to know about how to rig up these with your line to make the process a lot easier and save you time in the long run. And I'm going to be rigging this up while it's on the rod, so I'm going to go ahead and put my reel, connect it to my rod here, and then we can start rigging up the line. So with my spinning combo today, I'm going to be rigging up a leader to braid. So what I'm using for my leader is this 8-pound monofilament. And basically what I'm going to be doing is using that to fill up a good portion of the reel. And then with the last part of the reel, that's what I'm going to put my braid on. So I can save a lot of money, not have to have the whole spool filled up with braid. So the first thing you need to do, I forgot this when spooling up another spinning rod, is always open your bail before you tie your line. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab some of my line and I'm going to feed it just through the first one. This doesn't really matter, this step, but I'm just going to feed it through here. And then you're going to have to tie your knot. So what I'm going to be doing is, it's nice to have a self tightening knot, that one that cinches down really easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a uni knot, just a very small one with only a couple of wraps, and then that should be good to go. Alright, so I've got my uni knot tied up, and now I just got to cinch it down all the way to the reel as close as possible, and then make sure it's nice and tight. Basically you want a small knot. It really could be any knot, but you just want something small, and then cut your tag end as close to it as you can. So that's out of the way, and then you have your knot all tied up. You can close down your spool, and since this is backing, it doesn't matter how my reel sits when I reel it in, because it doesn't really matter. That stuff, I'm never going to touch the backing. It's just going to be on there to fill up most of the spool. I should never be casting my backing out, so I shouldn't have to worry about getting that tangled up. So the idea with this is then I'm basically just going to start reeling, and the main thing is just to keep tension. So you want to hold your rod something like this with your hand, so that you're keeping tension, and then you can just start reeling. With if this is going to be your main line at the end, if you're going to use this all the way, fill up your whole spool with a monofilament or fluorocarbon, you want to make sure that the way it's coming off of this is the way it's going onto here. So if my reel is spinning this way, going around this way, you want to make sure it's coming off your spool the same way. So in this case, it's coming off this way, and you want it to be going on this way. So that would be good. I would have a label up. But for now, since this is just backing, really doesn't matter if you're going to be putting braid on here. And the idea is to just fill this up a good portion of the reel, maybe 3/5 of the way, and then fill the last bit of it up. But the most important thing right now is just to be keeping tension, and then just keep on reeling the whole thing up, and I'll see you when it's mostly filled. So at this point, I think I've put enough backing on there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to tie a quick knot and just add my braid, and this reel should be good to go. So now I've got my backing all the way to where I think it's about right. And so now I'm going to tie on my braid, which I have right here. And I'm just going to use a uni knot as well, with just a few wraps around to try to make as small a knot as possible to connect my backing to my main line. And then we'll reel that up, and I'll show you where to stop, and then we should be good to go for this rod.
And just to clarify, spool orientation doesn't really matter when spooling backing or braided main line, but it does for fluorocarbon or monofilament as main line.
And then that right there is where I'm stopping for this reel, just a little bit before it gets, there's a flat area right in here. That right there is about where I'm going to stop. I could fill a little bit more, but that's going to be fine for right now. I've kind of ran out of line as well. So you can go all the way basically until it starts curving out from the reel instead of just being flat. But I'm going to stop a little bit before that, mostly because I'm running out of line, but also because just to be safe. But yeah, now we can just pull out a little bit more line, feed it through all of our guides, and we should be good and have a nice spool of line. So now we're moving on to the bait casting rod. I've got a new Handing M1 fishing rod that I need to spool up with some line. So I'm going to grab my rod, put it on the rod, and then we'll get to spooling up the line and showing you how to do that on a bait caster. Also, if you want to check out any of this stuff, I should have most of the links in the description.
Also, Handing is running a crazy Black Friday sale where I was able to buy this combo, which normally costs over $100 for less than $50. And whether you're watching this now or later, you can always get an extra 10% off with code JVB10. Links will be in the description below.
Medium, or sorry, 7.3 heavy. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my backing again. I'm going to do the exact same thing as on there because I'm going from a backing to a braid for my main line. For my backing, I'm going to be using this 8-pound line again, and then 8-pound monofilament, and then I'm going to be using 40-pound braid. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically do the same thing as last time, except I'm just going to feed it through. I'm not even going to worry about feeding it through the first guide. I'm just going to go straight. You're going to see on your reel this little hole, and that's going to have to go through that little hole, and then it's going to have to go in here, and you're going to have to tie it around this little thing. Some of them have holes, this one does not, so I'm just going to have to get the line around there, maybe with some pliers, but I'm going to have to get the line around there and tie a knot, probably another little uni knot like the other one, and then cinch that down, and then we'll be good to start reeling it in. So now, as you hopefully can see, I've got my little knot in there. I cut the tag end as close as possible to that so it doesn't make much of a bump, and then we are going to reel our line in. I'm going to hold it like this with my thumb and keep tension on that. All right, so I've filled my spool up to about there. I think that's good enough, so I'm going to now tie on my braid. So I'm going to take my scissors, I'm going to cut my line, and save that for later. And then I'm going to get out my braid. I'm going to feed this just through the first guide, just for fun, and to make the spooling just a little bit easier. Feed that through there. Grab my braid, I'm going to tie my little uni knot again, and then we'll finish spooling up the rest of the line, and I'll show you where to stop. So for the uni knot, I'm just going to cross my lines, and then I'm going to take the line that's crossed going this direction, and I'm going to make a loop like that with the end going up. And then you just do a couple wraps, 1, 2, 3 wraps is probably fine. It's not trying to be a crazy strong connection knot. I'm just going to flip it around. It's going the other direction, grab the other loose tag end. This is going to be the opposite type of line, do 3 loops with that, 2, 3, and then I'm going to tighten that down as well, pull the 2 knots together. That's going to be a pretty good strong connection knot, and then I'm going to cut both of the tag ends as close as possible. And there is our nice little knot, and so now we are good to start reeling this thing in. Now we are good to start reeling this braid on there, and hopefully really does not matter, just start reeling this up and I'll show you when to stop. And this is about where I'm going to stop my reel. You can see these little places there where you're supposed to stop. I'm stopping a little bit before that. That's because my middle is kind of humped up, so when I start casting this thing around, it'll kind of get smoothed out, but that is going to be good for now. So I'm going to cut my braid line, and then we're going to be able to tie on our lure and get to fishing. Now we got to feed this through all the line guides, and we should be good to go. And there you have it, both rods rigged and ready to catch some big bass, hopefully. So I hope you enjoyed this, hope this was helpful, and I will see you all in the next one.